You know what hurts the most? It's not betrayal. It's the moment you realize that the person who destroyed your peace is someone you once called family. High. I'm not here to ask for pity. I just want to tell you how my own stepbrother, the boy my mother trusted, the boy who used to call me sister, framed me, and how my silence became the very thing that broke him in the end. Before I begin, if you've ever been betrayed by someone you once trusted with your whole heart, please like this video, subscribe, and stay till the end. Because what I'm about to share isn't just a story. It's proof that no matter how cruel people can be, you can still rise from the ashes with grace. I was 17 when my mom remarried. Her new husband seemed kind at first, polite, successful, and always smiling. And with him came his son, Daniel, my new stepbrother. He was a year older than me, charming, confident, and everyone's favorite. The kind of boy teachers loved and girls whispered about in hallways. And at first, I thought I finally found someone who would protect me. Someone who'd stand by me like a real brother. But I was wrong from the very beginning. Daniel had this strange way of looking at me, not like a brother, but like someone trying to measure me, to see how much space I'd take up in his world. He didn't like sharing attention, especially not with someone like me, quiet, reserved, and still learning how to fit in. The first few months, I tried. I really did. I'd make him breakfast when mom was busy. I'd help him with assignments, and he'd smile. But it was never a kind smile. It was the kind people give before they do something cruel. The day everything changed was a Sunday morning. Mom had gone to visit Grandma, and it was just the two of us at home. Daniel came into my room, holding my phone. He said he needed to borrow my charger, but I could tell from his smirk that he'd already been through my messages. He laughed softly and said, "You think people like you deserve friends like that? You're pathetic, Emily." That was the first time I saw the darkness in him, the need to control, to humiliate. And from that day on, it never stopped. He started spreading small rumors about me, harmless at first. That I was jealous of him, that I was manipulative. But soon, things got darker. One morning, the school principal called me in. Someone had emailed fake screenshots, messages that looked like I was cheating on my exams. They were all fake, every single one. But the proof. It had my name, my profile, and when I looked at Daniel standing outside the office, leaning against the wall with that smirk, I knew he'd done it. I tried to defend myself, but no one believed me. Not even Mom. She said, "Emily, I don't know what's gotten into you lately, but you need to stop blaming others for your mistakes." And in that moment, I broke. You know what silence feels like. It's heavy. It sits in your chest like a stone that no one can see. You scream, but only inside. And even though no sound comes out, it still hurts your throat. For months, I stopped fighting back. Daniel won every argument. He got praised for his grades, while I was grounded for things I didn't even do. I started believing maybe it was easier to disappear. But the funny thing about silence is it teaches you how to observe. And I started seeing things. The cracks in his perfect mask. The little lies he told our parents. The way he manipulated everyone to stay the hero of every story. I realized something. I didn't need to destroy him. He was already doing it to himself. So I waited. I studied harder, worked quietly. I applied for a scholarship secretly, and when I got it, I didn't tell anyone, not even Mom. I left home that summer. Daniel laughed when I said goodbye. He said, "You'll be back. People like you always are." But I never came back. Years passed. I built a life for myself, a real one. I graduated, started working for a nonprofit organization. and finally found peace in my own solitude. Until one afternoon, I saw his name pop up on my phone. Daniel. I hesitated, but something inside me said to answer. His voice was quieter, slower. He said, "Hey, I heard you're doing well. That's great." And then silence. The kind of silence that feels like regret. I didn't ask why he called. I didn't need to. Because sometimes the guilt in a person's voice says everything their words can't. Months later, Mom told me Daniel had lost his job after being caught falsifying reports. Apparently, he blamed everyone but himself. Sound familiar? I smiled softly when she said it, not out of happiness, but peace. Because the truth always finds its way home. When people ask me how I got revenge, I tell them I didn't. I simply healed. And that was enough to break him. Because nothing hurts a manipulator more than watching the person they tried to destroy become untouchable. I forgave him, silently. Not for him, but for me. And in that forgiveness, I found my power. If you're listening right now, and you've been betrayed by someone you loved, please remember this. You don't have to fight fire with fire. Sometimes, your peace is the loudest scream you'll ever make. And maybe one day, they'll hear it too. They say time heals everything. But I've learned, time doesn't heal wounds if you keep reopening them every time you remember how unfair it all was. And for a long time, I did. Every night, I'd replay those moments, the way Daniel smirked when people believed him, the way Mom looked at me with disappointment, and the way my heart ached knowing I was innocent yet powerless. But life, it has a strange way of giving us what we need, not what we want. When I left home after high school, I promised myself one thing. I would never let someone else's lies define me again. It wasn't easy. I was on my own for the first time, living in a small dorm room with barely enough money for rent and food. But that small space became my sanctuary. I used to sit by the window every night, looking at the city lights, whispering to myself, one day, I'll make it. Not for revenge, but to prove that I could. Those nights were quiet, but full of fire. Every tear that fell made me stronger, more determined to build a life where no one could ever silence me again. I started working part-time at a bookstore. It wasn't much, but surrounded by stories, I found comfort. Every novel, every broken character who found their way back to peace. They reminded me I could too. I studied harder than ever before. No distractions, no drama, just me. And the dream of one day being free of that house, that past, that boy who tried to destroy me. 3 years later, I graduated with honors. Mom didn't come to the ceremony. She said Daniel had an important event, and she couldn't leave him alone. I smiled through it, because I'd stopped expecting her to understand. Some people never see the truth until it hurts them personally. But fate, it doesn't forget. And neither did karma. It was around that time that I started my first real job at a marketing firm. Small company, tight team, and they actually saw me. For the first time, people notice my work, not my past. But the universe always tests you before rewarding you. Because one morning, I got an email from Daniel. The subject line read, "Hey, can we talk?" My hands froze. I hadn't spoken to him in years. My heart raced as I opened it. He wrote, "I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I don't know what I was thinking back then. I was stupid and jealous. I guess I needed to feel better about myself, and you were the easiest target. You didn't deserve any of it." My eyes blurred as I read those words over and over. Apologies, they don't erase pain, but they do make you stop and breathe. Still, I couldn't reply. Not yet. Because I wasn't sure if I wanted closure or peace. A few weeks later, I got a call from Mom. She sounded different, tired, almost fragile. "Emily, "Can you come home?" she asked softly. I hesitated, but her voice cracked when she said, "It's about Daniel." Something inside me shifted. The part of me that still cared, the part that once saw him as my brother, whispered, "Go." When I arrived, the house felt smaller, familiar, yet different. And there he was, sitting on the porch, shoulders slumped, his eyes hollow. For a moment, I didn't recognize him. This wasn't the boy who once ruled every room. This was a man defeated by his own reflection. He looked up when he saw me, didn't smile, didn't speak, just whispered, "You came." We sat in silence for what felt like forever. Then he said, "I lost everything, Emily. My job, my friends, even Dad's trust. I can't escape what I've done." His voice trembled, and for the first time, I saw it. Regret. Real, painful regret. I wanted to hate him. God, I wanted to. But all I felt was sadness. Because the boy who once destroyed my peace was now being destroyed by his own lies. He said softly, "You were always better than me." I see that now. I didn't reply. I just looked at him and said, "I never wanted to be better, Daniel. I just wanted to be treated like I mattered." He nodded, his eyes filling with tears. And for the first time, he didn't have a comeback. That night, I cried again. Not because of him, but because I realized something important. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means freeing yourself from the person who once controlled your pain. And that's exactly what I did. The next morning, I forgave him in my heart, silently, and walked away. I didn't stay for breakfast. I didn't wait for another apology, because I had a life waiting for me, one I built from ashes. Months passed. Work got better. I got promoted. I moved to a new apartment, bright, airy, full of plants and sunlight. Peace finally found me. Then one afternoon, as I was finishing a report, a colleague walked in holding her phone. "Hey, is this your brother?" she asked, showing me a news post. It was Daniel. A small headline. "Local businessman caught in embezzlement scandal, under investigation." I froze. Not out of shock, but realization. Karma doesn't rush, it waits. And when it finally arrives, it doesn't knock. It just enters. I looked out the window, exhaled, and whispered to myself, "You finally learned your lesson, brother." I never reached out. Not to gloat, not to mock, because I didn't need to. His downfall wasn't my victory. My peace was. And for the first time in years, I felt weightless. When I close my eyes now, I don't see the girl who cried herself to sleep. I see a woman who survived. A woman who was framed, broken, and humiliated, but rebuilt herself into someone even she didn't recognize. The truth? You don't need revenge. You just need to become everything they said you couldn't. And when you do, that's the most poetic justice there is. If you've ever been framed, silenced, or betrayed, listen closely. Your story isn't over. The pain you're in right now, it's just the fire refining you. One day, they'll see you shine and remember how they tried to dim your light. And they'll realize they only prepared you for your glow. There's something no one tells you about healing. It's not loud. It doesn't come with fireworks or grand moments of revelation. It's quiet, almost sacred, like the sound of your own breath when you realize you no longer flinch at the memories that used to break you. That's how I knew I was finally healing. When I could say Daniel's name without my stomach twisting. When I could walk past our old house without feeling that ache in my chest. When silence no longer reminded me of the nights I cried into my pillow, begging to be believed. I had changed, not into someone colder, but someone wiser. Someone who understood that peace isn't found in revenge. It's found in freedom. A year after Daniel's scandal, I got an invitation in the mail. It was from Mom, A simple card with gold trim and neat handwriting that said, "Family dinner. Please come home." I almost laughed when I saw it. Family. That word used to mean love to me. Then it meant pain. Now, it meant closure. So I went. Not because I missed them, but because I was ready to face them as the woman I'd become. When I arrived, the house looked smaller than I remembered. It wasn't because it had changed. I was no longer the girl who once felt invisible in those walls. Mom opened the door. Her eyes widened slightly, like she didn't expect me to actually show up. "Emily," she whispered, her voice shaky. "You look different." "I am," I said softly. Inside, everything felt frozen in time. The same floral wallpaper. The same ticking clock on the wall. Except now, there was something new. A heaviness in the air. Daniel was already at the table. He looked thinner, older. The arrogance that once shaped his posture was gone, replaced with quiet shame. He didn't look up when I sat down, just fidgeted with his glass of water, like a boy waiting for punishment. Mom tried to smile. I thought it'd be nice to have dinner together again. I nodded, silently picking at my food. The air was thick, heavy with things unsaid. Finally, Daniel broke the silence. "I've been trying to get my life back," he said quietly. "But it's hard when everyone remembers what you did." I looked at him, my tone steady. "Now you know how it feels to be defined by something you didn't do." He met my eyes, and in that moment, I saw it. The full weight of his guilt. He opened his mouth, maybe to apologize again, but I raised my hand. "You don't have to say anything, Daniel. I don't need your apology anymore." He blinked, confused. "I don't." "No," I said softly, "because I already forgave you. Not for you, for me. You can live your life trying to fix what you broke. But I'm done carrying it." Mom's eyes glistened. She reached across the table, touching my hand gently. "Emily," she whispered, "I should have listened to you. I should have protected you." For a second, I wanted to pull away. Years of pain don't disappear with a single confession. But then I realized her guilt was her punishment. She was finally seeing the truth she chose to ignore for so long. So I nodded. "We can't change the past, Mom, but we can stop living in it." After dinner, I stood on the porch, looking at the dark sky. It was quiet, the same porch where I once stood crying as a teenager, wishing someone would understand me. Now, I didn't need anyone to, because I finally understood myself. Daniel came out behind me. "I don't expect you to ever trust me again," he said softly. "I don't," I replied calmly. "But I hope you've learned." He nodded, his voice trembling. "I have. You were stronger than any of us realized." I gave a small smile. "No, Daniel, I just stopped letting your weakness define me." Then I walked away, slow, steady, free. And for the first time, I didn't look back. Months later, I got an offer, a senior position at a company I'd been dreaming about for years. When I stepped into my new office, overlooking the skyline, I thought about that little girl who once believed her worth depended on others' approval. She was gone, and in her place stood a woman who taught herself everything they never did. How to fight quietly, how to forgive without forgetting, and how to win without gloating. I started mentoring young girls who faced bullying and injustice, girls who'd been silenced, blamed, and misunderstood. And every time I saw one of them smile after realizing her strength, I knew this was my purpose. This was my real victory, because the best revenge is not watching them fall. It's rising so high that their words can't reach you anymore. Sometimes, I still get emails from Mom. She updates me about Daniel, that he's rebuilding his life, trying to start over in another city. I don't reply, not out of anger, but because I don't need to. That chapter closed itself long ago. My story isn't about revenge anymore. It's about reclamation of my voice, my power, and my peace. I tell my students now, you don't have to destroy them to win. You just have to stop letting them live rent-free in your mind. And when they ask me if I ever got justice, I smile and say, yes, I became the person they said I'd never be. Healing doesn't mean the scars disappear. It means they stop hurting when you touch them. And mine? They're just reminders now of everything I survived, because in the end, I didn't need to expose Daniel. Life did that for me. All I had to do was stay silent, rise quietly, and let the truth catch up. So if you're listening to this and someone has ever tried to destroy you, remember, you don't have to fight dirty to win. Your peace, your success, your quiet glow, that's the real lesson they'll never forget. Because sometimes the student becomes the teacher.